Hey there everyone, welcome back. This is the quarterfinals of the ESL Southeast Asia Legends number 11, hosted by ESL and casted by myself, Matt Tosik. So let's take a quick look at what we have here. Looks like we have a small spectator bug here, so we're gonna get that fixed for you in just a second. So, hopefully Skill, or Nekz as we know him on the bracket, will reply soon so we can get this all figured out. So Skill is playing, or Nekz is playing Druid versus Anillio's Warrior. So
time waits for no one.
Should be good right now. So you can all view all those cards here. So looking at Nex's hand, Shade of Noxramas, Innervate, Ancient of Lore, The Coin, Druid of the Claw, and Pilot Shredder versus Anillio's Armorsmith, Shield Slam, Deathbite, Iron Beak, Extrasa, and another Deathbite. And doesn't seem like Anillio really has the best of cards here. Just has to armor up. Is not really playing the Armorsmith right now because I think he's a little bit scared of it being taken down early.
What to do?
So Nekz is considering his options here. So he can bump himself up to 7 mana to play Ancient of Lore and draw 2 cards, but he would have gone -1 in total. I guess he would have gone neutral because he does have something on the field, but does decide to go for a safer play here. A little bit a little less mana intensive, goes for the Pilot Shredder instead. Anillio gonna hammer into that one pretty fast, doesn't want to deal with that one at all. Skill, or Nekz getting a Mech Warper for that one. And of course, Nekz not playing any mechs in a Druid deck. That would actually be pretty funny, like Druid. I think there are some Druid mech cards like Mech Bear Cat, but that just seems like a little bit off, like playing such a nature-tuned deck and then having machines to work with that one. Anyways, I'm getting off track here. Druid of the Claw being summoned in bear form. Anillio might just hammer into that one and Shield Slam it as well.
What now?
Of course, if he does play that Armorsmith first, then he will get a little bit of extra armor from that one. So still has 3 armor left. So Death Rattle effect will do a bunch of damage there. We'll at least get 1 armor, and then the Cruel Taskmaster to kill off that Druid of the Claw, being a little bit too overworked. So now back to Nekz. Looking at the cards in his hand, he's probably gonna swipe away. Can't still do that, or he's just gonna shapeshift. Does give Anillio a lot more extra armor to work with. And does give him a little bit of extra health as well, but did clear out the board at the very least. So Nekz sacrificing a little bit there. But does go for the Innervate into the Ancient of Lore, so we'll gain a +2 off of, or +1 off of that one. So gaining 1 card in total. Now Anillio with his own Acolyte of Pain does have enough to Shield Slam that Ancient of Lore away, and that Acolyte still standing, so he can start getting resources off of that. Unless Skill, of course, takes it out in 1 go, and actually has multiple ways to do that. So I'm actually wondering how he wants to do it, because I don't think that Nekz wants to give Anillio 2 cards off of the Acolyte of Pain. So one thing that he can do is just Raff it, just like straight up Raff it. But he will not draw a card from that one. But I feel like he still wants to get the card draw, so he might just go Mech Warper, attack instead, and then use the 1 damage Raff. But then you would have given Anillio 2 cards from that one. So it's a little bit of a tricky situation on how you want to play this one out. Of course, Druid of the Claw kind of nullifies all that option because he has to attack into that one first. So looks like Nekz is actually going to give Anillio only the 1 card, which is going to be the Execute. And Anillio now being able to execute that Druid of the Claw pretty effectively with the Baron next turn. Or just straight up attack its skill now with the Dr. Boom draw coming into play.
What to do?
So let's take a quick look at what Nex's options
Wonder.
are. So swipe for 4 damage just to take care of that Baron and then attacking it, but he would have expended 2 cards in that way. If he keepers, then he can get rid of it with only 1 card by attacking with the Druid of the Claw, and he would still have a keeper out on the field, but he might just value that silence a little bit too much, because he might be scared of Sludge Belchers or anything like that. So does decide to go for the swipe play here though, and attack with the Shapeshift, keeping his Druid of the Claw alive actually, so it takes a little bit of damage from that one too, so it has more health remaining than Anillio, but Anillio is just going to attack into that one, take another 4 damage to the face, armor's up, so it's sitting at a total of 17 now. Now, Nekz is probably going to play a Harrison Jones, dump it on the field, because there's no way that you can get more than 1 card out of a weapon from a warrior, because they're usually 2 durability and they'll usually expend the 1 durability, but hey, getting a card at the very least is good. So let's see what that card is a big game hunter, so once the Alexstrasza is played by Anillio, Nekz does have a way to take it out. And now Anillio with his own Harrison Jones here is able to play that one, but I would probably play the Sludge Belcher instead just to set up defensively. Take a little bit of damage again from Harrison Jones, but still overall didn't lose too much. That Shaded Noxramas is something to look out for. Nekz might just want to silence Nekz might just want to silence that Sludge Belcher, or he can go for a Scenarios play right now and set up like a real defensive board, but he might be scared that Anillio might have a Brawl in hand. Of course, I can see the cards on both ends, and these players cannot. They don't know what each other player has in hand, and remember, there is a 10-minute delay, so there's no real possible way of sniping out whatever cards your opponent has in their hand.
Time waits for no one.
So it looks like Nekz is going to go for the defensive setup here. Double Treants with Taunt. It's going to be hard pressed for Anillio to get over. Shield block not really helping him at that point as well. So now Nekz for the next turn can just like take it easy. It's going to actually bring out the Alexstrasza just to burn down next to 15. Like really wants to finish him off pretty fast, but Nekz is probably going to drop the big game Hunter in a heartbeat and drop the Dr. Boom to follow up with that, as he does have the resources to just take down the rest of the field of Anillio. And Nekz is going to be in a really good spot there, has the card advantage, has the tempo, and Anillio doesn't really have a straight up way to take out everything on the field. I mean, he can stall for a little bit with shield block, and he can execute Scenarius maybe next turn, but still, it is going to be a little bit hard pressed, especially now that Skill still has, or Nekz still has Dr. Boom and a Shade of Noxramas available to keep on growing. Now, looking at the cards in the deck, Nekz has 13 opposed to Anillio's 16, so maybe if Anillio can stall it out some way, but again, that's going to be a little bit hard to do, I feel. So it's actually Nekz, interestingly enough, using that wrap early to draw a card, shoots down the Alexstrasza with the big game Hunter, and uses that Keeper of Growth to silence that Sludge Belcher. So probably just did it to draw a card. And Anillio now only sitting at a mere 7 hit points, buffs himself up to 12. Emperor Forest on being pulled, but I don't think it's going to be enough to execute on to the Shade of Noxramas. Is not going to prevent the 11 damage coming in, and Anillio concedes. It is going to be Nekz that wins the first game of this best of 5.
Versus Rexar.
Let the hunt begin. Your soul shall be mine.
Hey there everyone, welcome back. This is game 2 between Anillio and Nekz. This is Conquest mode, so you need to win one time with each of your registered classes. And while the players are playing out their first move, let's take a quick look at what those classes are actually. So if they load up. So Anillio's classes are Warlock, Warrior, and Hunter. And the Nexus classes are Hunter, Mage, and Druid. Has already won with the Druid, so can only play Hunter and Mage for his next couple of games. So Nekz bringing out that Mad Scientist, and Anillio responding with a very early Sun Fury Protector. So my guess is that Anillio is kind of like showing, hey, I don't have the greatest hand right here. And like looking at it, it's not really true. Like Anillio could just like have stalled out and play that Twilight Drake, but I guess like he does not want to take the risk in that aspect, wants to get something out on the field. So Anillio, two options, can just tap, or he can just coin Twilight Drake and like kind of press the issue here. So a 4/6 Twilight Drake for Anillio, and now Nekz looking at him, 4 mana. I don't think he probably wants to attack with that Igor bow, because he does get that secret from the Mad Scientist, and he can put out that freezing trap. Honestly, I would just steady shot freezing trap if I were Nekz, but I'm not, so he might do it a little bit differently. Abusive Sergeant, Web Spinner might also just be something that he wants to do. So is just gonna go for the steady shot here, slowly whittling down Anillio, who's now sitting at 24 with another Molten Giant, is kind of forced to heal himself up with the Earthen Ring Farseer at this point, and I feel that Anillio is just kind of waiting till he has 5 mana and can play that Sludge Belcher. Now back to Nekz, who is likely not to play that Knife Juggler this early on now, because Knife Juggler is one of those cards you want to play it as your first card, where you want to play it like a little bit later once your opponent is running out of resources. So setting up defensively with Sludge Belcher and attacking, spending the last attack of the Eaglehorn Bow, so decided, hey, I'm probably not going to get anything else into this one, so does decide to sacrifice that one. Now both players with a Sludge Belcher out on the field. Nekz can make his one 5/5 though, with that Abusive Sergeant. Or he could just Hunter's Mark it, which I kind of doubt that he will do. So his own Sludge Belcher sitting at a 5/2, 2/2 Mad Scientist to take down this little slime. And the steady shot to follow up. Anillio now sitting at 23. Both of these players sitting at relatively the same amount of health values. Anillio, of course, life tapping away to just whittle himself down to draw extra cards and to trigger those Molten Giants, but he doesn't really have a Sunfire Protector to like taunt them up anymore, and as a Twilight Drake gets shot back to his hand, but in return he brings out a new one sitting at 4/8. Now Nekz with a Savannah Highmane in his hand for the draw, and will trade that off equally with the little Spiderling and gets a Timberwolf for it. So it's not that Timberwolf in this kind of deck is not that super great, because Nekz is running like a semi-zoo variant of it, where he's like playing like a lot of these small critters like Mad Scientist, Abusive Sergeant, that kind of buff each other up along with the Knife Juggler, and doesn't really have any beasts. So until Nekz draws like into an Unleash the Hounds, that Timberwolf is not going to be super useful, or until the Hyena spawn from Savannah Highmane. So until then, Nekz is just going to happily whittle away at Anillio until he can actually play that card. Now Anillio, finally drawing into the Sunfire Protector, decides to siphon the soul of the Savannah Highmane. I'm not too sure why he actually did that. He's now sitting at 17. So let's take a quick look. 11 damage out on the board. If he plays that Timberwolf, it is going to be 13. And can be buffed up to 16 in total if he does the Steady Shot Timberwolf combo. So like taking a quick look. So he has 11 damage straight up out on the field. Plus 2 from Steady Shot. That's 13. If he plays the Knife Juggler, or if he plays the Knife Juggler and the Timberwolf first, then that's going to be 1 damage from the Timberwolf, 3 damage from the Hyena, another 3 damage from this Hyena. So it's going to be like 15 damage, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Moves quickly.
Or actually, I think he can actually buff it up to 16 if he plays it right. But it does leave Anillio to like 1 hit point, and he does get those Twilight, or he does get those Molten Giants for free at that point. But still, Anillio with a pretty good top deck here. The Lord Jaraxxus gets another secret out for his trouble. So double Molten Giant, Sunfire Protector now going to be the play for Anillio, and now he can take enough time to play that Lord Jaraxxus, and I feel that Nekz kind of misplayed there, because he could have dropped Anillio to 1 hit point, and then even like Anillio would have been locked out of playing Hellfire, and he had to play something defensively to heal himself back up. But he didn't have that. Of course, Nekz didn't know that, and he didn't want to risk it too much. Like, he didn't want to risk an anti-Healbot play from Nekz, but still, I feel the play might have been worth it.
I've got the beast in my sight.
So Anillio is going to go for a Shadow Flame play here. Takes a little bit of damage, but double Molten Giants are going to do the rest of the work, and there is no way for Nekz to straight up win this one anymore. Like, I feel that Nekz did misplay a little bit by trying not to go for the finish. Goes for the Beast Companion, gets himself a Huffer for his trouble, and he can take out one of those Molten Giants, but he can't take out the second. And that is going to result in the last 8 damage landing onto skill.
Well fought.
Nekz will concede, giving Anillio his first win in his best of 5, and the score is now tied up 1-1. Both of these players needing 2 more wins in the next 3 games, so this is effectively turning into a BO3 now. So let's see how this one's going. We're going to set up the game in just a minute, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Hearthstone action.
Rexxar versus Rexxar!
Let the hunt begin. I will hunt you down.
I'll show them all!
Hey there everyone, welcome back to Game 3 between Anillio and Nekz. This is the best of 5 in the quarterfinals of the Southeast Asia Legends Tournament number 11, hosted by ESL, casted by myself, Spell Ruler. So it is a Hunter versus Hunter mirror matchup. Nekz probably wanted to showcase his Hunter yet again after losing with it the previous game. I still do feel that his play might have been a misplay if he actually had known the cards in Anillio's hand. Like, probably wanted to get him down to 1. So both players now getting a little bit of a death rattle effect here. Anillio getting a Snake Trap secret, and Nekz getting a Myexna for destroy any minion damaged by this minion. It's actually pretty decent as a wall, like 2/8, and has that good effect, so it can take down like a big creature like for essentially a relatively low cost, I guess. So secret is gonna trigger. Snake Trap for 3 daggers is gonna land. 1 dagger is gonna land into Nekz. The second dagger is gonna land into, let's take a look, Nekz as well. 3rd dagger is gonna land into Nekz as well. So that Leok is actually still gonna keep standing. Haunted Creeper to join the fray as well. So Anillio actually has a way to take care of the Leok just by attacking with the Snake Trap. The Howlmaster also coming out to just give one of those beast taunts, so he can actually clear out the board relatively effectively, but decides not to. For make sure that Nekz is the one attacking into him, and has some cards to back that one up as well, an Eagle Horn Bow and a Freezing Trap. Nekz actually has some decent cards of his own for a little bit of an offensive play, the Kill Command and the Myexna. Hunter's Mark actually going to be used, and that dagger landing into the Houndmaster. 2 more daggers being spawned by the Spiderlings, both landing into Anillio. A little bit unfortunate for Nekz, but has a board to work with nevertheless. Now Anillio can retaliate with that Unleash the Hounds. Doesn't really have the Knife Juggler to truly benefit from that one, but still has all the Hounds to clear pretty much everything out on the board, so we're pretty much going back to a neutral state here. Of course, Anillio can decide to play that trap and just go straight for face here, but I do feel that going back to a relatively neutral state of the board might be into both players' interest. So Anillio actually deciding to go on the offensive, doesn't want to give Nekz a secret on his turn, so Nekz has to work a little bit for it. Has double kill command, but no beasts to follow it up with, and now is running a little bit behind on card advantage. Here, Freezing Trap will bump back that Mad Scientist to his hand. Now sitting at 4 mana. Does he really want to play it at this point? I don't think he really has a choice, because Nekz is not generating a lot of card advantage right now. Neither is Anillio, but Anillio has like something out on the field to actually be on the offensive. Now, Nekz can use his kill commands to take care of those things, but I don't know whether he really wants to do that at this point, because he will be sacrificing a lot of key cards that might be used on bigger threats like Savannah Highmane or cards like that. So Nekz is in a little bit of a sticky situation, I feel. So one of the 2 kill commands being used, secret being placed as well. Anillio trying to figure out what that is. The Freeze Trap bouncing back the little hound will cost 3 mana. At least it does have charge, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Eagle Horn Bow being equipped and will attack with it, dropping skill back to 15, and skill top decks into an Animal Companion, so that is going to help out a little bit at the very least. But 2 turns later, Anillio can bring out that Ragnaros the Fire Lord. So it decides to go for the 6 mana Myexna, the skittering spider. And Anillio doesn't really have a straight up way to take care of that one except for the Ragnaros the Fire Lord. So I feel that Anillio's best interest is to just go straight for face, like attack skill as much, or attack Nekz as much as possible. Just ignore the Myexna, bring down skill to as low of a value as possible. Low FEP coming across, not too sure if that's going to help too much. It is going to like make sure that Nekz doesn't get to play his Animal Companion or his Kill Command card, so is forced to play the Ironbeak Owl or the Mad Scientist. And this is just kind of rough for Nekz at this point. Myexna will take down the low FEP without too many issues because of her passive. And the Ironbeak Owl needs to take care of the Haunted Creeper to make sure no more spiders spawn. So now Nekz has a decision to make here. Am I going to play Ragnaros and try to finish the game here? No, he is not. But he doesn't even need to, as he pop decks the Huffer with the Animal Companion. The steady shot to finish it off. Anillio now 2-1 ahead in this best of 5.
versus Jaina.
You asked for it.
Victory or death!
Hey there everyone, welcome back. This is game 4 between Anillio and Nekz. Anillio being 2 games of Nekz only having 1 game. So let's see how this is gonna turn out for both of these players. Anillio on his last class. Remember, this is conquest mode, so the rule is you submit 3 classes and you have to win once with every class. Otherwise, you're free to like mix it up if you lose, and you can pick whatever class you want after you won with a class, if I'm not mistaken. So Anillio on his last class, so has to play this game 4, and if he loses this game, game 5 with Warrior, Nekz has to play with Mage and his other remaining class, as he still needs 2 more wins. So let's see how this is going to turn out for both of these players. Looks like this is a fairly offensive build from Nekz here. Looking at the cards here, Archmage Antonidas, Flame Cannon, Arcane Missiles, just wants to do a whole bunch of damage here. And he is like, no, I don't want to deal with that Cirrus Apprentice, as it does reduce like a lot of the costs in Nex's hand, like free Arcane Missiles on 1 mana Flame Cannon, Unstable Portal being used, and he gets a Death Lord from him. Surprisingly, Death Lord actually a card being used in Mage decks a fair number of times, because of the way Stall Mage or Mill Mage or whatever you want to call it
Death does not scare me!
being used. So, but a 2/8 body is not the worst thing. Now, meanwhile, Anillio's doesn't really have the best of hands here for now, like for the early game. Mid game, he can actually can gain a lot of momentum. So it's probably going to play that Emperor Pharazôn as soon as he can. And oh, another high value card for Anillio. But as mentioned, it's probably gonna bring out Emperor Pharazôn, reduce the cost of everything in his hand by 1, and otherwise, other than that, he can't really do anything. Like Ironbeak Owl might be useful, but he's not gonna silence that Death Lord. It's probably gonna silence that Mad Scientist, if anything. Like, he wants that Death Lord to trigger, but on the other hand, it's not really too beneficial as well, because all the high value minions in his deck are probably sitting in his hand right now. So that Death Lord is probably not going to bring out something useful. Like maybe an Armor Smith like that. That's my suspicion. So now back to Nekz, who is still sitting at 3 mana after attacking. Frostbolt probably not going to be played. Nekz just probably wants to hit like the 9 to 10 mana benchmark, where he can just Archmage Antonidas, coin, Arcane Missile, and then Frostbolt if he still has the mana, just generate a whole bunch of advantage with those fireballs. And Anillio with the Armor Smith can finally play something, but does decide to go for the Emperor Pharazôn with his 6 mana. So actually is pretty beneficial for him, because Ysera 8 mana, Alexstrasza 8 mana, Sylvanas 5, Grommash 7, Shield Slam being completely free, and now Nekz has to find a way to get rid of that Emperor Pharazôn without sacrificing the Death Lord. I feel that Nekz wants to have that Death Lord out on the field for as long as possible, because Nekz is probably suspecting, like at this point, yeah, he's playing Emperor Pharazôn, he's probably playing like a lot of high value minions. What he doesn't know is that all those high value minions are in Anillio's hand. So by Nex's logic, he wants to keep that Death Lord up for as long as possible, because the sooner it dies, the sooner Anillio gets a minion from his deck.
I wonder.
Anillio actually doesn't want to kill off that Death Lord because of the same reason. He has all the high value minions in his hand. So the chance of something worthwhile being summoned from his deck by the Death Lord is relatively low. So Fire Blast to take care of that Emperor of Coruscant, 2 mana remaining, but is probably not going to use that. Again, it's just waiting until he hits that 8 mana benchmark, I would suspect. So Anillio finally getting an Acolyte of Pain here. And is he actually looking to use that Death by Death Rattle effect? Like, if he does, I would probably bring out the Acolyte of Pain first, so you can at least guarantee, like, you get to draw 2 cards from that Acolyte. But decides against it, goes for the straight up attack. Grommash Hellscream being summoned as well, still has charge, will take only 2 damage from that one, and as expected, Acolyte of Pain being summoned from the deck by the Death Lord's effect. So at this point, pretty much that threat is being nullified.
I wonder.
So now back to Nekz. So let's take a quick look at what he has. He probably wants to save that Archmage Antonidas for another turn. So he's sitting at 7 mana. I'm kind of wondering what his best play would be at this point. So
Time runs out on me.
Frostbolt potentially to just freeze that Grommash, make sure it doesn't attack, which would leave it at about 5 health. And the most important thing is just to make sure it doesn't like charge straight into your face for 10 damage the next turn. So Sludge Belcher to set up a little bit of a defensive wall here, 2 damage lining onto Anillio as well. And if Nekz can actually survive 2 turns properly, then he might actually have this in the bag, because those fireballs are going to do a lot. It's going to be 12 damage in total in the next turn. Or the next, the turn after this one. But Nekz also has to find a way to bump Anillio down to a fairly low health amount. And then it will start to generate a lot of armor as well. Now he has the Armorsmith out on the field. So that's kind of a target that Nekz has to work around as well. I'm definitely expecting him to go for Archmage Antonidas Coin Double Arcane Missile play at the very least, just because it generates like so much cards. Like having a triple Fireball in your hand is a lot. Like it's a guaranteed 12 damage and then another 6 for the next turn. Now here's something interesting as well. Nekz has drawn into an Emperor of Coruscant. So if he's feeling really gutsy, he can actually play Emperor of Coruscant and reduce the card cost of Arcane Missiles by 1, Archmage Antonidas by 1 as well. So he can actually start to cast Fireball the very same turn he plays Archmage Antonidas.
What to do? What to do?
But then again, does Nekz want to do it? Like, I feel that he might be able to survive a couple more turns. Because realistically, he is sitting at 30 health. He can sacrifice his Sludge Belcher and his Mad Scientist to take down the Grommash Hellscream. But Archmage Antonidas is summoned. Fireball is added to his hand. Another Arcane Missile is being played. Another Fireball added to his hand. And time is running out. Anillio gaining pretty much armor on that one, but I don't think that Nekz is going to care as long as this Archmage keeps on standing and he can do something about it. It has triple Fireball in his hand right now. They're generating a whole bunch of armor for that one as well. Is sitting at about 25 health in total. And is there a way for Nekz to just straight up take care of that slime? Well, yes, he does. Shield Slam, but he could just Shield Slam at Archmage Antonidas. as well if he really wanted to.
I have no time for games.
So Anillio starting to bring out the big guns here. It's sitting at a fair amount of health here, and it's actually going to steal away the Archmage Antonidas by shield slamming his own Sylvanas Windrunner. So taking a page from the book of Nekz here. Now Nekz might have to expend like every single fireball to take down whatever Nekz or whatever Anillio has out on the field. So can only play 2 fireballs at this point though, so he can take down the Armor Smith by just using the Fire Blast, and then 1 fireball onto Grommash, and then the last fireball on Archmage Antonidas. But Archmage Antonidas will of course still survive them with 1 health, so Anillio can actually start generating advantages despite not having spells in his hand though to trigger Archmage Antonidas. So, Fire Blast is going to be used. Unstable Portal added as well. And he gets a target dummy from that one. A 0-2 taunter. That doesn't really do too much, but it actually might prove a little bit beneficial at this point. But now Anillio, having drawn into a spell, can start chucking them at Nekz. So it would actually be pretty hilarious if he had used Shield Slam on that target dummy just to get a fireball.
What now?
And it's gonna do that. It's gonna expend a Shield Slam that does 10 damage on a 0-2 creature that has 0 mana cost. That technically should not even be in the game because I don't think target dummy is like even a real card in the game. Archmage Antonidas just flinging spells, fireball after fireball, and skill now Nekz only sitting at 3 health. Does he have anything to clean up? I don't think he has, knowing that Anillio has another fireball in his hand.
What to do? What to do?
I have to check after this if target dummy is actually a real card. Like if it's actually a card that can be put in a deck, because that I am doubting. Fireball is going to come across to Archmage Antonidas, 1 damage killing him off, but it doesn't really matter. Nekz
Well played.
conceding defeat here
You win this.
will give up, and it is Anillio who will be our first semi-finalist in Southeast Asia Legends number 11. So congratulations to Anillio. He will be moving on towards the